At Sunday's White House briefing, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the longtime director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, suggested that hundreds of thousands, or even millions, of silent carriers may be unwittingly spreading the coronavirus across the United States because they don't realize they're infected. The idea that at least some coronavirus carriers don't feel sick isn't new. But the scale of Fauci's estimate was, "It's somewhere between 25 and 50% of the total," Fauci said. "But right now," he went on, "we're just guessing. 50% is a staggering, and scary, number. To put it in perspective, an asymptomatic rate that high would theoretically double the confirmed U.S. case count to more than 700,000 infections, even though the actual number of infections is likely much larger, given all the issues with testing. But is Fauci's new estimate supported by science? And if so, what does it mean for the United States' efforts to mitigate the spread of the virus and ultimately bring it under control? The news might not be as bad as it looks. The first thing to note is that Fauci himself expressed a high degree of uncertainty about his own numbers. "I don't have any scientific data to say that," he admitted Sunday. "You know when we'll get the scientific data? When we get those antibody tests out there and we really know what the penetrance is. Then we can answer the questions in a scientifically sound way." Fauci was right to be cautious. As he noted, it's impossible to say how many carriers never showed symptoms until you've tested a bunch of people who never showed symptoms, something that will only happen after the worst of the pandemic is over and scientists start trying to determine, en masse, who does and doesn't have immunity. More on that later. But Fauci has reason to suspect the asymptomatic rate could be as high as 50%. Researchers initially assumed the coronavirus would spread much like its notorious sibling, the virus that caused SARS, that is, only from people who were clearly sick with fever and cough. Even if there's a rare asymptomatic person that might transmit, an epidemic is not driven by asymptomatic carriers, Fauci himself said on January 28. Yet as the deadly pathogen shut down one country after another, evidence began to surface that sick people weren't the only ones spreading it. Some of the new data came from Wuhan, China, where the pandemic originated. Some of it came from the Diamond Princess cruise ship, where more than 700 captive passengers and crew members tested positive. Some of it came from Iceland, where nearly 5% of the total population, sick or not, has been screened for the virus. All of it pointed to the same conclusion: silent carriers are real, and they are most likely infecting others.